Well, the oil and gas segment of our market finished off a negative 3.26% week-on-week last week, despite the rally we saw earlier in the week. Seplat, the only E&P company on our market, suffered 8.13% haircut on the stock market week-on-week. Total was down 1.45% week-on-week, and Forty Oil lost 5%. So if you add those together, that brought the oil and gas index down 3.26%. Now, but look at the market on Friday. That's a massive 13.636 million shares in Oando, one of the integrated energy trader, 9.29. The market close off track about 1%, 0.85. Seplat, however, made that green shoot on Friday, but that was not enough to put the week to date for that E&P company in the red. 367.50 down from 400. Total also lost the 270 naira by 1.85%. The big story is from the electricity market, and of course on the news, on the paper, on the social media. It's all about what the latest are from the NERC. First says there's no catchment area for any of the discos. That looks like below the belt for the discos who thought that the catchment areas they bought in November 2013 during the privatization is their domain. But one of the discos that's been having a bit of face-off, well, not really in the news, partly in the news, is a co-distribution with some of the catchment areas that's been taken out of the very juicy part of their market. George Tommy is one of the directors of Eco Power Distribution Company, and he's live with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here. So let's go back to that story. The power purchase, catchment areas. This is one story that has been with Eco Distribution, that part of your market seemed to be exclusive out of your money making.
Well, let's understand how this works. When PHCM was unbundled, it was unbundled along the lines and the distribution segment, along the lines that had been mapped out geographically in Nigeria, and that brought about 11 discos. And as you can see, some discos cross like 4 states and stuff like that. So in terms of catchment, there are catchment areas. But the entire privatization exercise is designed to create competition. So going forward, what you're looking at is to create an atmosphere where competition can come in to the point where you can then get willing buyers and willing sellers. So this is what's going on now. And this is the reason the minister just recently declared some eligible customers. Now, whether or not we have reached the point for that declaration is a different question, because certainly in terms as policies go, this is where we're supposed to be going to. But as we are today, the necessary competition market hasn't come in. Tariffs are still where they are. So many obligations on both sides still haven't been fulfilled. So we'll see how NEC rules out the order, because in the end it's NEC that will rule out the order.
Very important question I want to ask here for my own consumption, and I think perhaps for millions of Nigerians. When the privatization was done in November 2013, it was done on the basis of the fact that PHCN has 100% on grid, everybody under his umbrella. But did you folks that were the discos have this understanding that along the line, within the transition period, there will be off-grid, captive powers, mini-grids, what have you, that will try to take part of your market out?
Well, let's understand something. Even before the privatization, there were some eligible customers that had applied to NEC and got a license for generation. So we need to get that very clear.
Like Lagos State government?
Yes, exactly. Some are there. Some are even embedded in some of these distribution areas, and they are in necessary talks with us because of what we believe is our territory that's covering all those areas. But what's critical in all of this is that how do you deal going forward with the eligible customers that the minister has just talked about? If it is an attempt to cherry pick from the discos, then that would be unfair, because you bought believing that certain conditions would be in place until such a time as market parity is achieved. Now, that parity has not been achieved, so it would appear a little premature, even if the intentions are good. But like I said, let's wait until the orders are rolled out. It is when you look at the orders. Because if you read the law along with the market rules together, it will assume that you need a level of parity for this competition whistle to be blown. So that's really what we're waiting for. Right now, everybody's analyzing how it affects their respective discos. For example, if you look at one of the orders, it says those on 330 kV lines, that's those who are tapping directly from the main transmission, like the steel companies and co. Currently, what happens is they pay through the distribution company within their territory to NBET. Now, with these new rules, on paper, they should be paying directly to NBET, cutting out those companies. So naturally, those distribution companies will be highly affected because their revenue will be affected. In the case of companies like Ecodisco, where transmission is stepped down from 330 to 33 using our internal networks, well, what will simply happen is that there are customers, big customers, the hotels, some of the banks and all those, who on paper qualify to be eligible customers, but they would have to invest in the infrastructure that will take power separately to them, because we already have the distribution network. So if you want to take advantage of this, you're going to make the necessary investment. The question then becomes, will it be worth their while? Because it still boils down to tariff.
In other words, who will have to build that infrastructure?
Whoever wants to take advantage of this, whether it's the GenCos working with the end users or the end users.
So if Channels Television, for example, if Channels Television wants to have that direct power purchase,
sure,
with Ikeja Electric, that means we would have to build the infrastructure ourselves.
That is the presumption.
In practical terms.
Or you can get a third party, anybody who feels there's some business involved with it. But that infrastructure needs to be built, and that cost has got to be borne by somebody. Now the issue then becomes, if I'm going to make this sort of huge investment, at what rate am I going to charge the power? Will power be charged because gas will be a pass-through cost? So which means the end user is going to pay phenomenally more. We're seeing that already with some estates. They're paying way above the market approved rates. We're seeing that already. So if that